Evidence like this. These are the actual holes. As you know, a UFO landed on a highway down there. There were four altogether. We
you have
three
of the holes.
Correct.
Look a bit burned.
How does this rank as evidence, Dr. McDonald?
Well, of course, physical evidence is just the sort of thing that my scientific colleagues and I too are looking for all the time. Anecdotal data, subjective observations are of great interest and pertinent, but physical evidence is badly needed, and there is more of this than most persons would realize, and most scientists would realize. There are quite a range of magnetic effects. Magnetographs have been driven off scale, watches have been stopped, compasses disturbed, ship's compasses, radio compasses, and so on. Great many cases of disturbance of car engines. Cars have been stopped. I suppose that there must be 100 to 150 rather well-authenticated cases of cars stopped. There have been power disturbances on small systems and large, coincident with, this doesn't prove it, that it's cause and effect, but there are too many instances of malfunctions and disturbances of power systems coincident with objects of an unconventional nature in the vicinity to ignore that category of data. So there really is a much broader range of effects than many persons are aware of, and I've been attempting to check into every one of these as best I can.
How important, for instance, are photographs?
Photographs are potentially very important, but there are many more hoax photos than there are genuine photos. Unfortunately, you can sell a photo, and that possibility opens the doors to fraud and fabrication. NICAP has done a great deal of checking on this, as have other groups, and the University of Colorado is doing a lot of checking. There are a few cases that really seem to stand very close scrutiny, and one of these, for example, is the Heflin photos.
Well, now, what is the attitude of science towards UFOs? I mean, is it beginning to change, or is it still mostly skeptical?
Oh, it's beginning to change, but it is still largely skeptical, and it's quite understandable. They have been assured that the problem has been looked at by official agencies, and it is a problem in which the type of data is less than ideal, to understate it. It's largely reports, subjective reports of witnesses, but, and this is a point I would emphasize after a year-and-a-half study of the problem, when you go to the witnesses in many of these cases, when you sort through, there are so many examples of highly credible witnesses, completely stable people of excellent reputation when you check around a bit, who have seen utterly unconventional objects maneuvering at low or sometimes high altitude, that to regard this as anything but a problem of considerable scientific importance, I think will be to miss something that we've already missed far too long, 20 years. As a scientist, I regard it as extremely urgent, because here is a really unusual problem that is going unattended by the scientific community throughout the world. Apparently the situation is no different in England, Russia. I've been in Australia recently, and I think it's scientifically, almost scandalous that we're ignoring this long-standing problem in the way that we in the scientific community have ignored it. Well, science doesn't want to sanctify it because it regards the evidence as not good scientific evidence. So you have a vicious cycle that's not very common in science. We don't usually move ahead into areas this way in science, and so the problem is how to take an originally subjectively reported category of data of most unusual nature and convince scientists that they ought to take it seriously. My effort has been to personally investigate cases, check, for example, many NICAP cases and other cases here and in other parts of the world, as best I can, and some of them I feel I've done quite a thorough check, and find out for myself whether the accounts are as provocative and as unusual as they seem to be. My finding is that they are indeed provocative and unusual.